Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble, Volume 218. And we got some good news to talk about and some not good news to talk about.
Yeah, definitely not good news at all. Let's be
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people are trying to spin it as such. I don't agree with that. We'll get into it.
Hey, whatever gets us to think like, hey, this could be a good thing, but whatever makes you sleep better at night, right?
Right.
So, but yeah. So, how has been your week, Brent? I mean, I think you are officially, kind of in the midst of summer work mode at work.
We are. It's going well. There's some changes to the way we're doing it this year, which is, frankly, taking a lot of the stress of it off our plate, which is great. I'm personally very appreciative for that. And we'll, it's given me time to work on other projects and stuff that I normally wouldn't have time to work on, and they are projects that I actively want to be because I enjoy them at the same time. So it's good. What about you?
Yeah, I'd been at a professional development all week for work, so good to catch up with some colleagues and get some plans ready for the next school year. And tomorrow, or if you're listening to this today, I will be at the Heroes Con convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm very excited about that. So my other podcasting and YouTube brethren will be there, so it'll be good to catch up with them, meet some great creators, hopefully pick up a few sketches and some signatures on some things. So just a fun weekend. And being Sunday, happy Father's Day, Brent.
And to you as well.
And to all our fathers and out there in the listening community, happy Father's Day to you all that do celebrate and recognize the day. So, but let us get underway. Like I said, we don't have too much news to talk about, but definitely some things that we need to share our thoughts on. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 7 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. We've got our dollar tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job, and then our $5 tier, ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive shows. We have our first Patreon show we'd ever done. We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga rewatch, where we watched all movies in the Infinity Saga, so hope you're enjoying that one. But we are now in the midst of our newest show, Tales from the House of X, where we watch all our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men. We have 3 episodes up there, Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and the Wolverine. And Brent and I, we just recorded this week our next episode that will drop at the end of the month. And what was that?
Logan has been recorded. It's in the can. Look for it pretty soon.
Yes, definitely look for it pretty soon at the end of the month. So patrons, you will hopefully enjoy listening to that. It's on a lot of people's top 10, if not top 5 for some of us. Top movie, superhero movie of all time for some of us. So. Yep. But be on the lookout for that. We've also got some great content coming from the DC Alliance guys, looking at their DC films through the years. A lot of back content out there. We've got Joe with his Disney Dives for his Multiverse Minutes, looking at all the animated features for Disney. So in a couple of days, actually this Saturday, he should be dropping his latest one because he'll be dropping those on the 1st and 15th. So I'm enjoying those kind of retrospectives he is doing for that. So we want to thank our patrons. We can't do this without your support, but if you want to join us on Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/GUA network for all that lovely content. But if you can't join us there, we totally understand. Take about 30 to 90 seconds to rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPrizeBooks.com, for omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. Got about, looks like 6 more days to lock in those pre-orders for the final order cutoff, such as New Avengers Omnibus Volume 1 coming back into print, Marvel The End Omnibus, Micronauts, the Marvel Years Volume 3. Who would ever thought we would get to a Volume 3 with that? and a few other great content out there. But use that code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. You use it a limited amount of times. We want to thank them for being an official sponsor. All right, so let me take those down. All right, Brent. So it was a light news week.
Well, he's right. It was a light news week, and I don't know what just happened to Chris. I assume he'll be back with us any minute, but I'll go ahead and get into it for now. Oh, he's coming back. He's coming
Sorry
back.
about that.
There he is. Yeah, I was it was such a light news week. You bowed out early. I was actually
I
about
did.
to.
I bowed out early at that point. That's what happens when the window is close to the other tab you're trying to close, and you accidentally hit the wrong tab. So
You know what? We've all made such mistakes. I haven't even introduced it. I was about to introduce the topic, but I'll go ahead and let you have at it.
that's fine. Yeah. So not so great news. It seems to be we cannot catch a break with this Blade. The movie I've unfortunately kind of labeled a fake movie, unfortunately.
Oh, I've been saying it too.
Yeah.
Mr. Snell likes to say Armor Wars is a fake movie. It's Blade.
Yes. It's right now, it's going to be Blade. They have lost their now second director in as long at that point. I think they're on their now sixth or seventh writer of it, except the current writer is not doing a complete page one rewrite. It is, from what I understand, a punching up of the current script in hand. But this is an exclusive coming from the Wrap. Yann Demange is no longer directing Marvel Studios' Blade. The Wrap has exclusively learned the parting with the French Algerian filmmaker actually happened a while ago, and it was entirely amicable. He was the second director after replacing Bassam Tariq. Marvel veteran writer Eric Parson, who has most recently worked on the Fantastic Four, is currently doing a punch-up on the current Blade script. And Michael Starberry, Nick Pizzolatto, and Michael Green wrote the previous drafts of the script. And I also found this out. One of the other writers, I don't know how I kind of forgot about it, Bo DeMeo was one of the writers of one of the scripts as well. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and with what we now know about X-Men 97, we'll call that one a loss.
Yeah, exactly. So Mahershala Ali is still attached to film as allegedly at that point. He is currently in talks to join the next Jurassic World film, probably because he now has time on his hands.
Oh, is that just talks? I actually thought that was a done deal. But I'm not a Jurassic fan, so nothing against it. I don't follow it, so I didn't read the stories.
Yeah, according to the Wrap, he is still in talks. So, but when it reaches the trades at that point, it's pretty close to being a done deal. So, Blade has had several setbacks since first being announced in 2019 at SDCC, and now more than ever, Marvel does not want to rush something into production when it isn't ready. The Blade movies were so important to Marvel back in the 1990s and early 2000s, the team feels an incredible amount of responsibility and pressure to crack this character and story. It is, from what they're saying, this is a film that is going to happen. They want it to happen. As I said, they don't want to rush it. And right now, it is still slated to be released November 7th, 2025. I feel that date is going to very quickly change. You're muted. Nope. Brent's having his own technical difficulties right now.
All right, I'm back.
Yep, there we go.
There's no possible way they're making that date. It's not happening. One, I don't even think they want that many movies next year anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, that goes against what Feige's been saying. That goes against what Iger said. Like, that it was already getting pushed, but it's not making that date. There's no way.
It's not. All in the game in the chat saying at this point, just give Blade gig to Gareth Evans, the Raid movies, or Chad
Stileski.
Yeah, the John Wick director who's talked about wanting to do Blade. Julio Zapata Jr. in the chat, $200 million for a Blade movie does not need to be a budget. I don't even know if
we
I don't
don't
know what they've
have
been
one,
throwing. Well,
but
they've been paying these writers, so there is
right.
a budget of some sort.
And I presume that I don't know if the directors have been getting paid anything at this point or not. But absolutely, every time a writer switches, that was money against the budget.
Yeah, they have to earn that cost. And anything, this is what sometimes people forget. Like, and I'll use, just Zack Snyder's Justice League as an example, just to prove a point. That movie had also a very high budget because of how many times they tried to get a Justice League movie off the ground. So that's all incurred on the budget of the film that actually gets made too. So some people don't understand that concept. So anytime they've gotten it up, try to get this Blade movie on the go, and it hasn't. That's a problem. And so I know it's so disappointing because you want this movie, I want this movie, I want it for who our titular character is going to be played by, because it's perfect casting. I know he's the one who sought it out and said, I want to do this. I don't even know what to believe from the scoopers in the sense of what was true, what wasn't true with some of these scripts. Some of them it just seemed like so ludicrous. It said, why was this even like given a chance after a rough draft?
Well, the other way to look at it is they're not happy with the scripts they're getting. And
no, well, at least currently it sounds like they're happy enough with a current script that just need a punch up from the current person who's on it.
I know people are trying to say that things like, oh, it wasn't the right director fit, so it's a good news. They're taking the time. Sure, I guess. But it shouldn't take this long and this many directors and this many writers to come up with a basic Blade story of Mahershala Ali killing vampires. Like, it shouldn't be that much. Julio says in the chat, have the script ready before announcing anything. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, let's be fair. Like, for as far as that goes in this particular case, this was announced at SDCC 2019, which it's come out since. We know them and Lucasfilm were basically forced to announce things before they were ready to announce them. So yep. I will give a little bit of a pass on that.
And this was a unique situation because this was not something that Marvel wanted to do. This was Ali coming to them saying, right. Multiple Academy Award-winning actor said, "I want to work with you. This is what I want to do." Yeah, I'd change how they do things too to get this.
But even with that said, they did still announce it, and they still haven't delivered.
They did.
And even if you account for the strikes, the Screen Actors Guild, the Writers Guild, even with that time loss, it's still been a long time without any real movement on it. And at this point, that's why I say fake movie. Like, I genuinely feel like this is going to be the first movie that Marvel announced and they don't make.
Yeah, I've
asterisks for Inhumans because it was a TV.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I've had a Fact or Fiction, or I think we just had a Fact or Fiction last week. You had said that Blade will not happen with Ali in the role,
right?
And,
I don't think it will. I think
we're gonna get a Blade movie. Unfortunately, it's not going to be with him.
His time as Blade was the voice cameo at the end of Eternals, and that sucks. Like, that does suck. And I don't try to be negative. Like, I don't think I'm known for being overly negative towards Marvel, especially the MCU. But I feel like this situation, like, this fell in their lap, and it feels botched. That's the only way I can think to describe it.
And the only thing, unfortunately, with Julio, I agree with what Julio's saying about like have script ready before announcing anything. Unfortunately, that's not how Hollywood works. Even James Gunn, like, he has his own thing. We're not casting anyone until a script is ready. I get that. I think that's a smart thing to do. But with when you have to start pronouncing a slate at that point, you at least should have something. I would say you need to have something already where you're feeling comfortable to announce a project in hand, a good draft that you're saying, okay, this is a good enough draft. This is what we're going to move forward with. A final draft, that's asking a lot, unfortunately, in this business. Saying, I thought Armor Wars wasn't happening. No, Mr. Snell would like you to think that Armor Wars is not happening.
Nothing's been announced on that front. They haven't announced any writers or directors, but they haven't announced a lack, like, switching them either. Nothing on that. So anything that's at work on that has been behind the scenes where it belongs, other than it started as a show, and we know they
Yep.
moved it to a movie. That's the only thing that's been announced. That was the last update we officially had, and really, that's the last update we had. Period. Like there
Period.
hasn't been
Yeah.
any rumors or anything about it, and that's fine. Stay away from it.
Yeah.
Stay away from the rumors.
I think the only other rumor that's tied to it tangentially is that Ironheart, besides being delayed due to the strikes and their
Yeah,
reshoots at
you're
that
right.
point, that they wanted to move Ironheart closer to when Armor Wars would be kind of coming out because it would
Hmm.
be tied to it.
Yeah.
All in the game, bringing up Michael Giacchino, who did Werewolf by Night, would be a good option. I would say a great option, if not the option for our next story at that point.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping he gets the next one.
Yeah, so no, I think he's good, and he proved himself with his short. He's proven himself in different ways. He's become kind of a renaissance man, as it were. So, again, this is continually. I have. It's almost like anytime they announce something positive for Blade, it's just like, you fooled me enough times. I'm gonna be waiting until I see a trailer for this at this point before
Mhm.
it's real to me. So, unfortunate as it is. But our last story of the evening tonight is involving something that more than likely will involve Blade, and that would be the Midnight Suns. This is coming from Nexus Point News, which is kind of a news scooper thing that has kind of hit the scene with the ground running, and not many people have tried to dissuade it. So they're newer on the scene, at least on my feeds. Saying Michael Green to Pen Marvel Studios feature Midnight Suns. The Midnight Suns has been one of the most speculated team up projects for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they write, following rumors of the debut of multiple supernatural heroes such as Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night, and eventually Blade. The project is all but confirmed. Our source now says that Michael Green will be penning the script for Marvel Studios' Midnight Suns project. We're not sure on the Sun's name. It could be SONS, like in the comics, or like the video game has tried to put out SUNS. So we're not sure yet. They're going with the comic book spelling of it. Green, this is interesting. Green is coming off writing the script for Blade, which has been in development since 2019. I think this is this is the one script they're punching up. And then they're also saying Marvel Studios' Blade was reported Daniel RPK to be set up as Marvel Midnight Suns project, which would make an appearance. DCU Leaks has also reported that Steven Bersad would also be producing the project. He has also been known for creating Blue Eyed Samurai, which I hear is outstanding. It's on my list of things to watch this summer. And writing the scripts for Kenneth Branagh's Hercule Poirot trilogy of mystery films. He also, here's thing, co-wrote the 2017's Blade Runner 2049 and Logan. This is what I'm talking about. This is a writer that has proven pedigree, has proven
Mhm.
success.
Yep.
I'm again, I'll reserve judgment, but when we talked about who the X-Men writer was going to be and where they're coming from compared to where he is coming from, I was already excited on the concept of a Midnight Suns project. This just with him behind it, with just Logan and Blade Runner 2049 known, yes, all day, yes. This is a big home run for Marvel if this is true.
Yeah, if this Nexus Point News site, whom I'm like you, I hadn't heard, I don't think I'd heard of them before this story. I've since looked at some other stuff they did, but
A number of other like scoopers I trust have been retweeting and not
yeah,
necessarily
which
striking
helps.
back. Not striking back. They've been more confirming similar things they've heard.
Which definitely helps. This is a good resume on this guy for sure. Especially Logan, a movie that pretty much even if it's not your favorite Marvel movie, everybody pretty much agrees is a good movie, a well-written movie. Do I have my own problems with some of the stuff in the story? I do, but I won't even necessarily say they're badly written. I just don't like the way the story went in a few places. Check that out on Patreon, I guess. I don't want to spoil that.
Yeah.
But the fact that he has this pedigree, this resume behind him is a good thing. Hopefully though, I mean this comes true, hopefully it's real. Now we just need some movement on this. One, is this going to be the movie we see Blade? Are we going to who's our director going to be? This is where I'm hoping for Michael Giacchino.
Mhm.
But this is a much more positive news. I read this article and I was like, yes, this makes me happy for sure.
Yeah, all in the game saying actually think his Logan co-writer Scott Frank is a better writer. All in the game, if you're still in the chat, refresh my memory of some other things Scott Frank, and that's I knew he was the co-writer of Logan as well, but I'm not familiar with some of the rest of his projects at that point. So, but like you said, Green still has good pedigree. This is the concept of this, the idea of the Midnight Suns is not such. It's always been kind of miniseries and things like that. Like you got characters that have been on the team, such as Ghost Rider, Doctor Strange, even Scarlet Spider has been on the team from time to time.
Yeah, they should do that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, Werewolf by Night's on it, Man Thing's on it. I mean, this is a cool. I mean, with the Guardians of the Galaxy was a hodgepodge kind of assembly of a team. This is even more of just these are just cool ideas of character. Elsa Bloodstone, who we just got introduced to. There's Moon Knight being on. I mean, there is a lot of already newly established or currently established MCU projects that characters that they can really have some fun with this.
Scott Frank worked on the Queen's Gambit, Logan. As we talked about, the Wolverine, Marley and Me. I never saw that one. Minority Report, which I thought was an interesting movie. But Queen's Gambit alone, that was an excellent miniseries.
Yeah.
So quite a bit of stuff.
Oh, Out of Sight too,
and
Get Shorty. Oh, okay, all right. So definitely been in the game for a while. So, but yeah, I've always been sold on the Midnight Suns project ever since we even hinted around the idea of Blade at that point. So I mean, I think the idea, if a Blade movie can't happen, a solo project right now, dedicate the rest of it to the Midnight Suns project. I think that seems to be something that you've, even if they haven't seen it, the characters alone should be interesting just on paper. You know, a idea of a quote unquote supernatural Avengers team. You're going to need it, especially with what's coming up. And knowing what Man-Thing is a nexus point being that is kind of looked at as a guardian of the multiverse. Yeah, he'd be an interesting one to kind of do.
Seems like that would be
now
right there is enough, having him do it.
Now, where would let's just hypothesize this, Brent. This seems to be a project that, if true, and if they want to get out, this doesn't seem to be something post Secret Wars. Where would you put a Midnight Suns project then?
It's so hard right now not knowing what's going to happen with Avengers 5, which I think is going to get delayed also. And I think probably should get delayed at this point. But I would definitely do it before. At this point, I would do it between the two Avengers movies. But I don't know how many movies they want between those. I don't know if they're still going to try and stick to just a year. I would be fine with more. Between Infinity War and Endgame, we had 2 movies, right? Mm-hmm. We had an Ant-Man movie and we had Captain Marvel. Oh, and we had that's it, Ant-Man and Captain Marvel. I think there could be more between the two Avengers movies now and spread them out themselves a little bit more. I'd probably put it somewhere in there because it feels like anything prior to Avengers, unless they already have it slated, there's not time to get it.
Yeah, it's what I was kind of thinking a similar idea where you would put it in between both whatever the Avengers project, Avengers 5 and Secret Wars, because depending on what Avengers 5 is going to be, and the idea of possibly the Avengers losing big, not sure what that is, but who would you kind of place on this team, Brent?
I mean, well, All in the Game says, shouldn't Blade be the leader of it? To me, that would be ideal. That depends on them being able to get it off the ground. But let's say that ideally, yes, Blade right there. I'd love to see Moon Knight. I want to see Werewolf by Night. Ted, the Man-Thing, bring him in. And like Elsa Bloodstone, those characters who are already established, who have stuff in them, absolutely. You know what? I'm going to say it. John Berthal, the Punisher. Bring him in, right? It's different. He's not really a mystical creature, but I believe he's been involved with him in the past, and he could certainly hold his own. That would be interesting. It'd also be, I know, I'm trying to think of who else. If they wanted to introduce Ghost Rider, sure. Brother Voodoo would be an interesting character as well.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh, I think that'd be great.
and
Absolutely.
so I wouldn't mind seeing him show up. That if nothing else, it'd also be fun for him to play off Doctor Strange, who has been involved with the Midnight Suns, I believe. I don't remember if he was directly on the team or just kind of ran into the same case with them. But those are the kind of characters I would think of. But for established, it's like, well, Moon Knight number one, right? Well, Blade number one, but Moon Knight from the established ones.
Hmm. Yeah, that those are some great ideas. It does. I definitely have a factor of fiction about the idea of the
Okay.
team as well, about who could make it up. But the Punisher's an interesting choice, just because he'd be the one on the team that isn't super naturally
He could be
connected.
that human character that is like the POV character, so they can do the exposition stuff for everybody.
Hmm. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Elsa Bloodstone being on it. Like everyone they've introduced so far that could be a part of it, and maybe some new ones at that point.
Oh
So.
my gosh, I'm forgetting what was the name of in Moon Knight? The name of the girl, her I forgot what her name
Oh,
was.
the Scarab. Scarab.
Scarab,
Yeah, yeah,
Scarlet
yeah,
Scarlet Scarab.
yeah. Scarlet Scarab. Yep,
Yeah,
definitely a potential. I mean, it's in our it's in one of the tweets at that
thank you.
point.
Brain
Yeah.
farting so hard on her name right there, but I'm like, oh my, I can see her character. What?
Yep.
I'd be totally fine with her involvement as well.
So it could again a cool project at that point. I agree with you. Michael Giacchino leading up this one would be another home run just based on what he's done for what he did for Werewolf by Night. So, um,
Yes.
but yeah. So interest. Again, some good news, some bad news this week, but we'll take it as we get. Again, we hope the best for Blade, but right now I'm putting my chips in on Midnight Suns be actually happening. So. But all right, we're going to take our ad break for the evening. As you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. Give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, Brent, as always, you put out the Spidey signal, but did anyone respond this week?
Not for questions. We got a couple factor fictions from DC
Okay.
Outlaw from Anthony, but not for questions.
All right. Well, oh well, that happens from week to week. Again, the news kind of dictates that. And I apologize for those of you. Some reason the link that I put in the tweet out there was not working. I've reposted that tweet, so hopefully you can watch it live at that point. So let me get into our factor fictions from last week. All right. So number 1. Eli Bradley will be in Captain America Brave New World. 92% said fact, 8% said fiction. Number 2, Giancarlo Esposito will be featured in Captain America Brave New World's post-credits scene, teasing his upcoming Disney Plus appearance. 50-50 split. They are not sure on that one.
Okay, all right.
You're not sure. You stumped them on that one. Number 3, Mahershala Ali will not portray Blade in the MCU besides his voice in Eternals. 24% said fact, 76% said fiction. They're voting with their hearts on this
they're
one.
optimistic. And you
Hey,
know what? I hope they're right.
I hope they're right too. God knows we want that to happen. And then number 4, similar to Life Death episodes, there will be at least one or two two and a half. There'll be at least one or two half episodes in X-Men '97 season 2, solely following an X-Men team up made up of the mutants from Forge's roster. 100% say yes.
Yep, for
So
sure. I think we were both in agreement with that.
yeah, I definitely think so as well. So. But all right, let me pull up my factor fictions for this week. All right, we'll start off with Midnight Suns. The Midnight Suns project, whatever it's going to be. I know it's probably thinking of a film, but you never know. Those things can change. Midnight Suns project will have a team where half the roster has already been introduced in a prior MCU project. So we're going to be basically, it's going to be people we know, while the other half will be new characters that we have not seen.
I'm gonna go fact on it. In fact, I think it could be slightly more than half even. But I'll go.
How
I'll go
many
fact
people
on
do you
it.
think is kind of your limit for a first outing of a team in this situation?
I'd like to say no more than 7. I'd probably really go with 6, but I'll say no more than 7 because depending on how many depending on how much pre-established knowledge we have of the characters.
Mhm.
Like if they really do like the Punisher, they don't need to introduce him. If they were to do Moon Knight, we've seen characters like that we've seen. But like Werewolf by Night, I feel like probably needs a little more time because we've had less time with him. So seven's my max. But seven's my max prediction. I don't think it's a problem necessarily if they do more than that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the image I kind of posted with our live tweet. You have, these are basically all the possibilities of characters at this point that are currently could be there. You've got Elsa Bloodstone, Blade, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, Werewolf by Night, Scarlet Scarab, Clea, and Man Thing. So
I totally forgot about Clea.
Yeah, so currently you've got 8, if that were going to be the roster without any new people that we've really.
But
not
since
been
we
introduced
don't have a Blade,
Yeah.
so it'll be 7.
So, but hey, I'm with you. I like the 6 at that point, but so then we'd have 3 people that are new, 3 people. So who would be your 3?
Who would be my 3 new ones? Or my
Who would
3
no? I would say
existing?
no. I'd take no. Who would be your 3 established that you'd be on the team?
Well, Moon Knight for sure.
Okay.
If I could only pick 3, Moon Knight. Ideally, looking at your image, I'm gonna go ahead and say Doctor Strange,
Okay.
and who I would actually then have in the leadership role. Um, Elsa Bloodstone
Okay.
from number 3.
Yep. I'd go Blade, Elsa Bloodstone, and Moon Knight. I think I would love to have Doctor Strange on it, but the way they're trying to pivot Doctor Strange to be kind of a new de facto leader of the Avengers, not saying he can't be on 2 teams, but I think he will be tied up with more Avengers level stuff, and so I would be with the people saying might be Blade being the leader at that team. So, all right, so that's the first one. So I'm a fact as well. Next one. Sony will debut their live-action Spider-Man within the next 5 years.
Fact.
The question is, who will be their Spider-Man?
Miles.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer. It'll be Miles.
It's
It's not what I want.
It's not gonna be Ben. It's not gonna be Ben Riley.
I mean,
Do you want them touching Ben Riley at this point? Because we've seen what they can do.
only if it's related to the Spider-Verse movies.
No, we're gonna call him the Scarlet Spider, but he's gonna look like Peter Parker. But we're not gonna call him Peter Parker, and we're gonna just allude to him having spider-like abilities and just have spiders all around him.
I mean, I don't want them touching any Spider-Man at this point. Let's be real.
Live action, at least.
Yeah, yes, live action. Anime. I said after the first Spider-Verse movie, they should just stick to animation.
Mm-hmm.
They clearly have something incredibly special there. Realistically, I say Miles, but maybe they'll work out a deal with the MCU that Miles would be on that side of thing. In which case, give us some of the Spider-Mans as like Spider-Punk, right? Like give us a Spider-Punk movie. That could be fun. That could be cool. You could be different. People aren't going to be upset about them tarnishing Peter Parker, and like do something like that. And I think that would be cool. I don't need it to be a Peter Parker movie. And I would really rather they didn't get the first Miles Morales. I'd really rather they didn't. But
I know someone's going to be cheeky about it, saying, "Oh, they are going to debate it in the next 5 years. It's called Spider-Man Noir." Okay, you got me. Fair, but that's not their one they're gonna pitch their hat on. I would think it'd be interesting if that's the one that takes off. Saying, you know what, we're gonna vote everything.
So say just modify it to say theatrical. Their live action modify the fact or fiction to say theatrical.
Yeah, someone's gonna get cheeky. Okay. I know that. And I appreciate it because I'm the one who always says details matter.
You would be cheeky about that.
I would. I'll call myself out on that one. All right, so I've added that to there. All right, and my last one, we will not see the MCU's version of Green Goblin and Venom until after Spider-Man 4.
So you're saying neither of those characters...
Neither one of those characters will be in
Spider-Man 4.
Correct.
I'm going to say fact, but I'm not strong on it.
I'm very strong on my fact on that one because just certain things that Kevin Feige has said when it's been brought up, particularly about the Green Goblin, I really think they want to separate themselves. Everyone getting their chance after Secret Wars and stuff like that, then they can feel like they've everyone who has been in a past project, whether it be Sony, Fox, what have you, then they can introduce it. I think they want one more project where they get to claim something that a villain that hasn't been seen before.
Green Goblin, yes, it's Venom that's hanging me up because that piece of symbiote may or may not be in the MCU right now. We don't know after the Venom 3 trailer. There were rumors that the symbiote was going to be in the Tom Holland Spider-Man 4. We don't know yet. I could see them doing something different with a character, like when Venom became, like when Scorpion became Venom, right? Like maybe Gargan will get like.
Ugh, I hate that storyline, but yeah.
I could see them doing something different there, that maybe they would have a Venom, but it wouldn't be Eddie Brock. And so it's like that's where my if you had just said Green Goblin, slam dunk fact. But you know that sometimes it's fun to make it more.
I don't want it to be. Sometimes yes, I like low hanging fruit ones, but I want to make it a little interesting.
So that's why I'm sticking with my barely fact. Not a
barely fact. Yeah, I will be the opposite. I will be strong fact.
I'm like 40% fact. Like I guess that means I'm more fiction, but I think you're right.
I'm 80%. So
I'm 51. I think you're right. I just don't. I'm not super strong about it.
Gotcha. So you said we got a few from Anthony. What do we got from him?
Speaking of Venom.
Yes.
Somehow by the end of Venom: The Last Dance, Venom will have the iconic spider logo. Anthony says fact on this because he think it'd be hilarious if it took a full trilogy for him to have the most comic accurate look. I'm saying fiction because I don't want it.
Look from?
I don't want it. He doesn't deserve it. I'm saying
no.
Fiction.
I'm gonna go with my heart on this one. I don't want it. I'm with you. Doesn't deserve it.
And
Hasn't needed
in the comics,
it.
He only has it because of the symbiote bonded with Peter for a while.
Correct. It would seem so thrown in. I don't care about the mute if you don't want to hear a quick spoiler in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. I don't care about this whole 10-year-old Peter Parker being possibly in it. Anyways, spoiler window over. You know.
No. And then. Anthony had another one. He did not tell us his thoughts on this one, but
okay.
Logan or Wolverine will not be on the initial team of the first MCU's X-Men movie.
Yeah,
that's a tougher one.
Getting back to the beginnings of this show itself was Travis. He has been a big proponent when we were creating our own content and saying like who do we think would be on the X-Men team, and that's been his drum he's been banging for a while, that you really want to do something unique, don't put Logan on as your Wolverine, put Laura Kinney X-23 as the MCU's Wolverine for a little bit. Not saying Logan doesn't exist, but that would be our introduction to Wolverine in the MCU, really. With X-23, which is it is an interesting idea. That's an interesting one.
Prior to Hugh Jackman's return, I would have said fiction because business-wise alone, you have Wolverine. Business reasons alone, you have Wolverine on your roster. He is the most popular. As Deadpool says, he is the X-Men. He is the X-Men.
The X-Men, yeah.
And but Hugh Jackman's return, maybe this will give an opportunity where they can kind of get away with that, set aside the character for a little while. The Laura Kinney idea is a good one if is a Logan out there. There has to be a Logan out there, or they radically have to change her origin, and I think that's not. I think she's less interesting if she's doesn't have her origin, and it's hard there because we don't know the rumors. If she does show back up in Deadpool and Wolverine for a cameo, then I almost feel like
not according to her.
Not according to her. Ask Andrew Garfield. It would, if she were to Secret Wars. If she shows up in Secret Wars, it would restart the clock on her as well, and I feel like so. I'm going to go ahead and say fact, but primarily just because Hugh Jackman is absolutely returned, and so I feel like they're going to need to give the character a little bit of a rest.
Yeah,
It's a hard one.
it is a hard one, but I'm gonna go fiction on it, more so just to counter it in the way that the character, they know what they have with the character. They know what they have just with the character. I know Hugh Jackman really brought it to the forefront and will continue to put it in the forefront. But when that roster comes out, if Wolverine's not on it, the first question is going to be, when is Wolverine going to show up?
You're right.
And so if even just the idea, like everyone's going to say, like, do you put the original team? Always the first question is going to be in some way, shape, or form, who's going to play Wolverine? We've said it before. I'll say it again. I do not envy whoever this person's going to be cast, because it's going to happen. Despite what people want Hugh Jackman to play till he's long in the tooth just to be it.
He's there. He's already long.
Yeah, he's there. And he'd already said once he wasn't going to come back. And here we are. We're getting him for probably at least one more project after this with it. But Wolverine, Logan will be on the team. I think X-23 will come. I think there will be a better New Mutants project, even though I haven't seen that film. I'm judging before I see. However, there will be X-23 in the MCU. That is also a very popular character, but I think in order for that to really take off with the general audience, Logan has to be reintroduced to the MCU.
You know, they could do both. He doesn't have to be on the roster to be in the movie, for one thing.
Correct.
And they could always just give us Jimmy Hudson, the ultimate Wolverine, who's Logan's son.
Fifth Jack in the Gaming in Chat, one of our patrons, saying, I'm not excited for Venom, but that is an interesting take for Wolverine. So he also, I want to plug his YouTube channel. He did a quick little overview of X-Men 97 and gave us a very nice plug for people to check us out as well. So thank you very much, sir. So I will post all 5 of those Factor Fictions on Sunday afternoons to let your voices be heard. And Brent, let us head to, we talked a lot about Wolverine tonight. Let's talk about some Deadpool. Let's go to our comic book club. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe again. I believe we are number 3.
Yes, number 3. And I'm laughing at the first page because Gwenpool is there. She's taking a picture of Doctor Doom and the Red Skull, and it's not good enough for Moon Knight. Can't tell those two particular characters from behind.
Not from behind. But as a fan of the movie, the other guys, if she had the Backface app at that point, she could have told who exactly they look like.
There you go.
But apparently, a red skull from the backward and a green hood backward, not enough.
And I like how she doesn't even try to be sneaky about it. She barges in the room and just says, say cheese. And then we don't see what happened to her, but
the Abomination.
She's alive, but she's probably not alive.
Yeah, the Abomination. I just like it, how Moon Knight, or in this case, Mr. Knight's like, I've lost connection. Until we hear from her, we should just assume Gwenpool is dead.
Yep, she's gone.
I did chuckle when I said that. I was like, oh, how like Mr. Knight at that point. It's such a great pairing. I want a comic team up of just these two.
Yes, Moon Knight, Mr. Knight, and the Punisher. Like, I've enjoyed seeing the two of them together. Mm-hmm. Definitely, like that's been a nice surprise. They've been in comics together before, but I don't remember one that was just like the two of them.
Yeah, this one's been kind of a highlight for me with that. But they've stumbled upon Deadpool's latest massacre, and who has he destroyed?
Gosh, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Groot's on fire. It looks like rockets hanging up there.
Yeah, he's gone Predator on it. Like skinned him and left him hanging there. Drax is beheaded.
Skinned him, but left his fur on Star-Lord.
Yes.
And yeah, Drax is beheaded. I presume that's Gamora's feet. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, definitely gone Queen of the Wicked Witch of the West at that point. So, yeah, it has not worked out well. But Punisher's found the gun with that Deadpool's left behind, and I'd be careful with that as well. But I love now that we've gotten used to with 3 issues, and we know when we see a change in the art style we know some bad things are happening
Yeah.
in reality with
The
this.
cuter the art, the more mortifying it's going to be when it switches back.
So for those of you that don't know that much about this particular version of the X-Men, this is Brian Michael Bendis's, in my opinion, bad idea.
Great idea. Yep.
Bad idea. Where he decided to bring forward into time the original X-Men, Beast did, to help rekindle the goodness of the X-Men because Cyclops had lost his way.
Oh,
And,
yeah, but hashtag Bendis was right. Go on.
okay, anyways, well, you have I have had hashtag Cyclops wrong. You'll say I like Brian Michael Bendis. This I thought was a bad idea.
I like him at Marvel. Let me go ahead and throw that out. I wasn't a fan of him at DC.
Yeah, and I will agree with you on that. So, anyways, we got a lot of side tangents. So, but that's who these X-Men are, and he's Deadpool apparently is trying to work the time machine and works out with such horrible results.
Yeah, they all go splat and just I don't even know how to. They look like one giant puddle of putty. They look like they look like Clayface from Batman the Animated Series. They look like Clayface. That's what they look like to me. Just morphing around crazy there. If you look at the picture with the cute art on the time platform, it's funny that not Beast but all the others have little X logos around their ankles.
Yeah, you're right. But Beast has no.
He has no shoes on.
No
so
shoes on. Yeah.
yeah. No shoes, no boots.
I like it how Iceman's vomiting before he's like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Yep.
So they're massacred. He's massacred the X-Men at that point, and we get Cable and Misty Knight transporting to one of the safe houses that he and Cable used to frequent, and he's discovered something very awful.
It looks like he found the Beast on the floor.
Yes,
what it looks
he's been
like.
skinned. Yep.
And then there are several other people from the Mercs for Money that Deadpool had been working with, including Gorilla Man, who cannot die.
Yep, cannot die unless someone kills him, and if he does kill him, that person, whoever kills him, becomes the new gorilla.
Yes.
So, or as he say, they become the ape. And Domino, that really irks Cable because they are very close in many ways.
Yep, and Cable says, it's getting easier by the second for him to do what he's going to need to do.
Yep, but Punisher and Moon Knight find the base where the villains were, and we start seeing a different change of art, not as cutesy. So Deadpool's definitely taking a swing at Mr. Knight and drawn some blood, and as Punisher tries to use the gun, I don't know what he's done to Punisher.
It almost looks like he teleported.
Yeah, teleported into some sort of thing because I don't see like ashes left behind. We just see steam. So.
And seriously, Punisher, you're going to use an unknown weapon, an untested weapon? Like, that doesn't seem like him.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Mr. Knight meets possibly his end, getting stabbed by Deadpool as he's trying to communicate with Jessica about what Deadpool's warned him about. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, but as the kind of crew, the Avengers kind of gone into the Deadpool has taken on a new form, and what has he done?
Ultron, I guess.
Yeah, Ultron Deadpool.
We've got Ultron Deadpool, dead Ultron, whatever you want to call him. Creepy.
Yeah,
looking.
very creepy looking at that point. So this is definitely not as humorous. This is definitely I know the last one like was bloody, but yeah, man, this one's a little more a little more gruesome in this sense.
It's sadder. It just feels sadder
because it's we know Deadpool's getting manipulated. Deadpool's getting used and mind controlled.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, fifth game was let's see, getting we got a new one. Justin Money in the chat saying as much as I would love to see a Moon Knight team up with Punisher, I would prefer to see Moon Knight and Blade team up.
Sure.
That's fair.
I take it in the comics because it's going to be a while in the movies.
On the game saying, yeah, I want Blade and Moon Knight as co-leads. Yeah, there we go. So, all right, though, again, light week of news at that point, but some interesting things to talk about. We'll continue to watch that. But, Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Yeah, Brent Tech Prime on the socials.
definitely. At that point, you can follow me on all the socials at Chris Balga. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel 8 Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask fact or fictions, questions. All DMs are open. Continue to rate, review the Marvel Alliance solo feed, GUA Network feed, and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Thank you all for listening. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent, post-credits discussion tonight. A little bit off the beaten path, but as you know, Brent and I are big Apple aficionados, and the WWDC conference was held this week, and you're like, oh my gosh, why are Brent and Chris talking about Apple?
Well, we usually do.
We usually do, but we always, in our post-credits, even if we go a little bit off the beaten path, we always find a Marvel connection. And why can we talk about an Apple development thing on a Marvel podcast? Well, outside of the stuff that we host a show, we can do whatever we want.
They recently released a game for a tie-in to What If. I say a game, they're calling it like an interactive experience. It's supposed to be about 1 hour long, and it's on the Vision Pro. And I don't have one of those. You don't have one of those. We have not played it because, frankly, the Vision Pro right now is there's not enough bang for your buck, in my opinion, so I haven't done it. But the trailer for it does look really awesome. It looks like you get to play as I don't know, like a student of Wong's or something like that.
If someone wants to ship Brent and I a Vision Pro at that point to try this out, we will gladly accept.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't say no.
Yeah.
But anyways. They did have some imagery of that during WWDC, which is the developer conference they do every year, and they teased the upcoming operating systems that will come out in the fall. Typically, iPhone and iPads come out, and the operating systems release in September. The Mac in October. I don't know when the Vision one's going to release. The Watch will be September. And if you have a developer account and are crazy enough to do it, you can put betas of those things on your.
And Brent is just that crazy person to do it.
I am. I don't have it on the Macs, but I do have it on my watch, phone, and iPad. Yes, and so far it's been fine on all three of them. But your mileage may vary. You do so at your own risk.
Exactly. So what were some of the highlights that you want to kind of put out there?
I mean, it's such a simple thing, and the only way to do it before was to kind of hack it with shortcuts. Scheduled text messages. I have already used that multiple times. And it's just such a simple thing. Do you ever write an email and you want to send it later? Or do you ever you're working on email and you don't want to know the person to know you're working at night because you don't want them to think you're always accessible at night? You schedule it to send later? Absolutely. I have already done that. I have already had that. And I think that is a great, useful feature. It's also one, like, oh, they're not going to see it because they're on Do Not Disturb. I'm going to have it go out automatically later. And you can schedule that message and still talk with the person. It's such a simple thing. I'm sure Android already has it. I don't care. But it's one of my favorite features that I've actively been using on a regular basis.
I do like they said they could schedule something out up to 2 weeks ahead of time, which is interesting.
I haven't looked at that yet. I probably should at some point, but I haven't looked.
I do like the updates. I think it's been a massive update for their photos feature, particularly with the idea that you can finally remove pesky people in the background of your family photos, that you could actually like have a true family photo, like say that I'm going to a theme park with my children and my wife, and I want to get rid of all those people and look like no one's there. When that feature debuts, I'm going to try that one of the photos, see how good it does.
Yeah, and that feature's not out yet in the betas. Some of the Apple Intelligence stuff, which is obviously where the biggest focus was, is all coming in the beta cycle later. But that is a feature you could get with third-party apps. Like I think Pixelmator had something for it. But it'll be nice to just have it built in directly to Apple natively. The Photos app in general got a redesign. It's taking a little getting used to already. Mm-hmm. But it's weird because I feel like visually it's I don't want to use the word ugly, but it's not quite as pleasing to the eye. Mm-hmm. But functionally, I think I like it more. And I prefer the function over fashion, so I'll go with it.
Yeah, I know they also put out there of the user interface. You can now relocate your apps to however you want it to be organized.
I've tried it. It works. I don't know if I'll actually use it.
I might, depending on what it is. I agree with some of the similar podcasts we do listen to about this, that it using the supposed Apple Intelligence thing. You should just be able to tell it what to do, and it does it if the central photo in there looks to be you want to see the subject at that point. Even though what they did put out there, I wasn't a fan of it. I'm not the only one who's not a fan of it. The changing of the colors of the apps, I've yet to see anything that makes it pleasing to me
I
outside of
don't.
maybe dark mode.
I don't think it's this great big offensive thing where people are like, "Oh, I saw someone say you've set back iOS app design 10 years." I'm like, I don't buy that at
Oh,
all
stop
because
that.
it is purely choice. I will say this is a little. I have my apps icon set to dark mode right now, and my device lives in dark mode, but I set the app icons to dark mode too. And part of why I did that is I have the reminders widget on my home screen. I like that to be in dark mode. To have the reminders widget in dark mode, the apps have to be in dark mode now to have their icons in dark mode. And I'm just a little mixed. I almost wish you could pick and choose by the app. But I'm leaving it on right now because it looks different, and that's fine. Am I gonna have like one of those colored screens that's like all red or all blue or whatever I've seen? I made one to look at it, and then I promptly got rid of it because I agree it was kind of ugly. But there are people who will like it.
Yeah.
Them having that choice doesn't affect my device.
Yeah. So Apple Intelligence at this point, I will say this. We're not going to go over everything, but I'd say in general, the idea of bringing OpenAI's ChatGPT into the mix of this one to try to basically play catch up with everyone else, I'm gonna have to wait and see how well it is. I will always accept being that this is their way to make it better, their AI ideas. AI has a lot of questionable stuff, but with Apple possibly behind it and them saying that it's going to be protected behind their stuff and they're not going to say share stuff, it's still going to be like, we'll wait and see on that.
The majority of it is going to be on your actual device, on your iPhone, on your iPad, on your Mac. If you have an iPhone 15 Pro, iPhone, or any device with an M1, the Vision Pro coming later, but any device with M1 or later will also get it for their processors, which means the modern Macs, the modern iPads. This is going to be the most secure artificial intelligence that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But that does bring with it some limitations. So they built some stuff that goes to their cloud systems first. Yep. Obviously, if you're using their devices, you trust Apple. And if they really do think that it needs something beyond that, you have the choice to enable it to send out information to ChatGPT. But you have to approve that with every single request, is my understanding. And I think that is the right decision to make. I have looked at ChatGPT exactly 2 times. I did not get the answer I was looking for either time. But I've looked at it exactly twice. I have a coworker that likes it quite a bit. It's fine. I don't fully trust them yet, and there is some there. So I don't know how much I personally will choose to use it, but I like that you can do it. You have access to their free accounts. It's all through Apple. You don't, if you have a paid ChatGPT account, there's going to be somewhere to put those credentials in. I will try out the Apple stuff on device for sure. How useful is it going to be? Honestly, ask me like 6 months after it comes out, because it's going to need time to bake.
I will need to ask you this: you said you tried it out a couple times, you weren't getting the right answer at this point. Did you say? Did you ask them the question is Cyclops right? And it kept on giving you Cyclops is wrong.
I didn't. I mean,
maybe I had to take a stab. I had to put it in there. It's gonna, I know.
Maybe that needs to be my. Let's find out right now.
Well, everyone, good night, everyone. We will see you next week.
Let's find out. Okay, so Cyclops, a character from Marvel, often embodies complex moral dilemmas. Whether he's right depends on the context and the specific situation you're referring to. I'm skipping some. In some storylines, he has taken extreme. Wow, this is a lot. Ultimately, whether or not he's right is often subjective and open to interpretation.
Wait a minute. Did you just say, is it all subjective?
It is all subjective.
Ding.
For the record, the first 2 times were related to scripting things in Python I was trying to do. But into a program.
All jokes aside.
It's just, it's not for me yet, but I mean, frankly, it's the future of computing.
Yes,
so
it is.
Well, I'm not, it's not on the frontier I'm willing to be. Also, they did jack crap for the iPad, so that was really disappointing. The iPad got next to nothing. Yes, the calculator stuff with their I forgot what they called it, but the handwritten stuff that'll turn into solving equations for it. It's cool. It's great. It's going to be really helpful for students. I don't care. Like they did nothing for the iPad, and that was disappointing, especially because they just put out an amazing piece of hardware with the latest iPad.
Yeah. So, all right. So that is our little brief debrief on WWDC. But we will see you all next week for another new episode of Marvel Alliance. Have a good weekend. Happy Father's Day, everyone, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.